Robert, it's obviously been a challenging harvest for a lot of farmers in 2025. Yields and prices haven't been particularly supportive, and that's led to us looking at how we can support the industry moving forwards with looking at new funding packages. And I understand the farm team now have pulled together Budget Lite. Can you just explain to us a little bit about what that is and what that service is for?
Yeah, certainly. Maybe just go back a little bit. Harvest 2025 was not a great harvest for the majority of the region. So yields were low, prices are very in the doldrums very much at the moment. So at the moment, most arable businesses are feeling the pressure. They know that the funds aren't there. They're not quite certain how much they might need and when they might need it. And there is a great deal of uncertainty out there in the sector at this moment in time. From our point of view, we do a lot of budgeting and cash flow work with banks already, but the sort of work that we do with the banks is quite an involved piece of work, which is almost overkill for the situation that most farmers find themselves in. Most farmers are really just needing a bit of support from the banks to actually get them through this next 6 to 12 months until Harvest 26 comes around, because the prospects for Harvest 26 are actually slightly better. Certainly the crops are looking better, prices aren't that great, but overall things are looking better. It's the short-term issue that most businesses have got a problem with. And that's where Budget Lite comes in. Rather than actually doing a full-blown budget and cash flow and detailed analysis, which is a very costly exercise, we've stripped that down, or the product that we normally use, we've stripped down to the bare basics to provide information that will help the bank managers that have the information in front of them to be able to make that decision to say, yes, we will be able to support your business going forward. So it is a stripped down version. It still provides a cash flow so everyone can see how much you might need, when you might need it. It gives an indicative profit and loss account so that the bank can have some confidence that the business has got a viable future. Has an indicative balance sheet as well to show that the structure of the business is still there. Mm-hmm. It's just this short-term issue. And as a result of stripping an awful lot of that detail out, we're able to offer that to farmers at a much reduced price.
And so obviously it's a tool for trying to support getting more lending to get through the short-term cash flow needs. What's the big difference between Budget Lite and a whole farm budget, and sort of why would you use them in the whole farm budget, for example? Why do you spend that extra money on having one if you need one versus Budget Lite?
With the whole farm budget, it's very much providing a lot more detail into looking at the individual enterprises, looking at the gross margins achieved by each enterprise you've got by each crop that you're growing, looking at whether the actual level of gearing that you've got within the business, the amount of debt you're carrying with the business is actually appropriate for the business to have a viable future. And from a bank's point of view, if you're looking at wanting to purchase some land or put some new sheds up or whatever, there's a lot greater level of justification needed for the bank to be able to come back and say, yes, we're prepared to support you. With the Budget Lite one, we are purely there looking at the short-term cash flow needs because of the circumstances that were beyond anyone's control from last year. Yeah. So we are purely looking at, this is the situation here and now. This is how it's going to we're expecting it to roll out over the next 6 to 12 months. So that the bank can have confidence that they say, right, yes, we can see that you need the money. It might be a short-term issue, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds in the short term, but we are able to show it sufficient information for the banks to be comfortable that you've got a viable future, but it's just a short-term issue that you're having to deal with.
And from the conversations we've had with the banks, Robert, are they accepting of this? Are they finding it a useful tool?
They've actually helped us develop this. So we went to a number of the agricultural bank manager across a number of the mainstream banks, and actually provided them with saying, this is the area that we feel there's an issue. Just talking to farmers and our clients, they acknowledge that they knew that issue was coming as well. So we've actually worked with them so that they were very clear the sort of information they needed to be able to talk to their credit teams to put the funding in place. And we've basically developed that this offer of Budget Lite off the back of the information and the actual requirements that the banks were looking for.
And from the bank's perspective, obviously, do they see more credibility in it being done by having a consultant, an independent third party look at it versus the farming business itself, or could a farm business do this for themselves?
Certainly the farm business could do it. What the banks like with it is the fact that it's been sense checked by us. So we are actually questioning the client to actually say, are these actually the true position? Is it robust information? Is it reliable information? So that actually the banks have a degree of comfort that there has been some, sense, shall we call it, sense checking of the information before it's presented to them.
Yeah, okay. And it's obviously called Budget Lite because it's a lighter version of the whole farm budget that we've traditionally done. What sort of cost is this for clients, just so they can get a feel of what sort of cost it might be?
It's still quite an involved bit of work, but the reality is it's probably going to start from £1,000. It's not going to be the sort of offer that a very complex business could use. So it's very much for the sort of mainly arable business, possibly with a small beef and sheep enterprises as well. So it's that sort of area where we feel the pressure is coming from. But again, the expectation is that we'll be able to actually provide that work from £1,000.
And if we were to instruct, say, for example, for our farm on an estate, etc., and we saw that there was real benefit from doing that initial piece of work, is that something that then can be built on later to go into sort of more of a management tool, budget and sort of enterprise analysis?
Yeah, very much so. So a lot of the actual basic information that we require for Budget Lite is the same information we require to actually produce a more detailed budget. So that the actual main structure, the main building blocks of the more detailed piece of work is already there from the Budget Lite work.
So we're not going to end up having to sort of pay for something twice?
No. The reality is, if it turns out that the Budget Lite work comes out and actually shows there's possibly more detailed work needed, we've already that hasn't been wasted time by any stretch of the imagination.
Brilliant. So thank you, Robert. That's been really helpful. Do you have any top tips for farmers at the moment?
I think the reality is people know there is an issue coming down the track. We don't quite know when. We don't quite know by how much, but. So from that point of view, it's probably worthwhile looking at this sooner rather than later. Bank managers do not like surprises. They very much prefer to have an open discussion with farmers well in advance of when the issue might be appearing on the horizon. So I would be suggesting that you've got a couple of months now before we start doing the spring work, where you can sit down, look what your finances, look what you need, put something together with the help of Budget Lite so that the banks are comfortable and you are sitting there knowing that you've got the funding in place through to Harvest 26.
Yeah, good advice. Thank you. If you feel Budget Lite would be a useful service and would help you with your business, please do get in touch with the team.